Okay. Going live. There's a few things I need to adjust just to make sure we get the ball rolling here. Looks like we're live. Welcome everyone. This is Andres Restart. I hope I'm not too quiet. Am I quiet? Oh, I am very quiet. No, wait. Am I? No. I
Are
don't
you
think so.
though?
I hope.
You are for me.
I am for you. Okay. Right, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, guys. I apologize. So just to know, just so everyone knows, this is a Nintendo podcast we do every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. What's your time zone?
Central Standard.
Central Standard Time.
Or just Central. I'm not sure if it's standard or not at the moment. Depends on the daylight savings.
Wait, apparently my audio is only going in through one channel.
Single channel audio.
What?
Not stereo audio.
I can fix this, but I'm just shocked that it changed. Alright, let's see. Yeah, I see. I don't even know why it does that.
Oh, apparently it's only going to people's left ear.
Okay, how about now? Does it sound better now? Brand, do I sound better to you, first off? Or no? Brandon? I'm gonna hang up on Brandon. I sound so small.
I can't even hear you anymore. Hola.
Hey. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me now. Okay. So you can hear me now. We're just fixing up. We're fixing the audio stuff now. I know. I'll explain everything in a moment. Yeah. Excuse the technical difficulties. I can up my volume. All right. Juan's saying it sounds good now. Christopher Lee saying it sounds good. Coraxy Jr. sounds fine to them.
If it sounds good to them, you should be able to go into, is it your output volume? Maybe I need to raise my output volume. Hold on. Speak again.
Hello.
Okay, you just got way louder. Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, it did sound like there was an issue because, yeah, it sounded like it had me only doing like mono instead of stereo for whatever reason.
Right.
But everyone's saying it sounds better. It sounds fine. Thank you guys. Thank you, Having Hope. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Christopher.
Yeah.
Okay.
I figured out why for weeks and weeks it's been so quiet. Apparently, I turned the output volume, which is for apparently your headphone volume for other people. Like,
okay.
You know, like what I'm hearing for you. I had that down to 70%, so I turned it up to 100%, and now you're much louder.
Okay. All right, and guys, let me ask one more thing. I have the game behind me on because I kind of like the background music. Is the background music too loud? Is it just right? Let me know. Is everything sound great? Not just the voices, but the background music. If it needs to be louder, if it needs to be quieter, let me know. But it seems like we're doing okay. So I think we can just kind of get the show started. But please, guys, in the chat, let me know if we can adjust anything. But everyone seems to be saying it sounds normal, it's just right. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Christopher. All right, so plan for the evening is to talk about a rumor regarding a Nintendo Direct, and also Tears of the Kingdom. There was a patch. Now we cannot use the duplication glitches anymore. So we're going to be talking about the loss of this and just our strategies for Tears of the Kingdom, how we go about playing the game. And also a bit of this controversy has been going on with Pokemon that we'll talk a little bit about as well. There was something else that wasn't a planned topic. I didn't look too much into this, but it looks like Valve and Nintendo came to an agreement to not allow Dolphin to be on Steam. We can touch on that too, I guess. But I didn't read all the articles, so there you go. So, but. With that all said, that's the general plan. Brandon, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Just been working and playing Zelda, and then working some more.
That's it. Oh.
Just the grind. The work grind and the Zelda grind. The Zelda grind's much preferable, though.
It is a grind, though. That is something that I've noticed. Tears like a grind maybe has a negative connotation, because it's work, but it's a big game. It's such a
You
big
can
game.
enjoy work. I think people have
Yeah.
forgotten that these days, but you can enjoy work. I'm sure you enjoy working on YouTube, even if it still is work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I enjoy what I do. I think sometimes maybe because of how small time I am, right? Like it's all relative, right? Like obviously I've seen some success, but in terms of like the hierarchy of YouTubers, that especially YouTubers that are doing this full time, I'm the bottom of the food chain of full time content creators, right? Like I don't even know if I can continue to do this full time for a long period. We'll see, right? But so with that in mind, there is kind of like, I gotta work harder, right? I gotta work harder and harder and harder. And I think sometimes I might do what they say, rip the bat too tight, right? Like almost like try too hard, and maybe I should like work smarter, if that makes any sense. What does that what does that mean exactly?
Oh, it's ever changing.
It is ever changing. It is ever changing what that means exactly. But you know, I did kind of relax a little bit more this weekend. I just played Zelda, a little bit more Zelda. I hung out with family, a couple friends.
Nice.
You know, those things, but also, to your point, Brandon, there's a lot of flexibility to that, right? And to just explain why we started late today, I actually had taken a little bit of extra time to make sure the podcast would start early, on time, and good to go. But I was like, oh, I should work smarter, so I should just focus more on like communicating with different brands and companies and sponsors. So I was in the middle of like reading through this email chain, and this company wants me to do like a video review for their product, like a dedicated video. But spoiler, the video is not even about games. So I'm not going to do a dedicated video on the channel that's not about Nintendo. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, if there's a game on Switch that people may enjoy, okay, sure, because the Switch and Nintendo, like, that makes sense, right? Which is why I did the Farming Simulator one, and, you know, it's a game that some people may enjoy. That I think made sense.
Yeah,
but, like, to just completely sell myself, no, I'm not going to do that. I was getting mad. And I was like, okay, you want me to do this, and you want me to do it for free. What?
Oh.
So yeah,
That's a yikes.
It is a yikes. But yeah, that's just companies. But anyways, I got distracted by that, and I saw it was 7:04, and I was like, "What? How did 15 minutes just pass?" So
time.
I was just supposed to check the email and respond really quickly, and then yeah. Anyways, that's how I hyper focus sometimes. But yeah, let's check one of the chat and let's just talk about Nintendo.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, the Megaton Menace. How far are you in Tears of the Kingdom? Details, please. Okay. So,
hard to quantify.
The way I have it set up, it's set up in a way where if you don't understand the context, it's not a spoiler. But I am in a region of the map. It's not the water dungeon, but it's a cave. It's a cave. It's a cave. But that's where I'm at. It's going to be my 4th dungeon. And I still haven't uncovered the entire surface map yet. There's one region I haven't done. That's actually the Faron region where Lurelin Village is. I know it's there, but I haven't gone there yet. I did the huge Hateno side quest. I've started to explore Ocala, but I haven't
I've
done
barely been
the
there.
Terrytown stuff yet either.
I haven't even been
Yeah.
to Terrytown. I
But
need to go.
yeah, I've charted everything else on the surface. I've done the the Tears of the Kingdom, not the Tears of the Dragon
Here's the
main
dragon.
quest. Tears of the Dragon, thank you. Um, I know there's actually it's weird. It's a weird thing about the Sky Islands because you start off on such a big island, and then as you explore more, you're like, huh. Like especially if you look at the map. When you look at the map, it doesn't feel like there are that many Sky Islands.
Right.
But when you start to explore more, you start to see more islands that you thought were there. Um,
The
it's
islands are set up very interestingly because they're almost set up in a way where you're supposed to go through them in a linear fashion. I've noticed I had a better time with the Sky Islands if I launch from a tower straight onto like the closest one and then just go like from island to island because they seem to be set up to do so. It's interesting. They're almost set up in a linear way, although you don't have to do it. Like you could start in the middle of the island, but there is kind of like no point in going backwards sometimes. But sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes you need to actually be like on one side or the other to like even start something in the island, which is interesting. So sometimes you can go to an island and it'd be like, ah, there's nothing here. It's seemingly. And then you go to a different island in the same like they call them like archipelagos or whatever, and then you'll start something and they're like, oh, that's what this other island over here is for.
yeah, yeah. It, it's just interesting. Like there's some fun mini games you can do with the islands. There's some really cool quests. Like I've run into some islands that are actually fairly large and they're like a shrine quest, and they're actually pretty big. And there's also some cave areas that are actually pretty big too. Like they're not just like a standard island. They're not just like a standard cave. There are some unique caves, some unique sky islands, and but it's just kind of one of those things where you gotta explore. I do feel that like the sky islands aren't meant to be the primary place to explore, though. They definitely,
No.
it definitely feels more like complementary to the main map, and not like, hey, this is the new thing you're going to explore. So that was maybe a little. That's not what I felt like the promotion was steering us towards.
It's interesting because I thought that it would be kind of the opposite the way that it is because they showed so much of the sky. I thought there was gonna be like a second map in the sky and then some like underground stuff because they didn't really show much of the underground.
Yeah.
But it's really the opposite. Like there's a whole second map underground and there's some stuff in the sky.
What's really funny is that you could argue that there should be a fourth map. And when I say that, that's because when you're in the caves, there is no map. Yet the caves, if you account for all the space you explore in the caves, it's
big.
Likely comparable, if not more, than the amount of terrain you can explore in the sky. Yet there's a map for the sky, but there's not a map for the caves. Now, I understand why. It's kind of finding the caves is kind of part of the puzzle.
The caves are very linear too, so it's not like there's a ton of places to go in them most of the time.
Yeah,
there are some though that are more like maze-like,
a little
the one
bit.
underneath the Tano village.
Yeah,
but in general, like you don't necessarily need a map. You should go down paths mostly.
Yeah, and that's part of it, and also like being able to ascend straight out and seeing where you are on the surface. Like I think that's all kind of part of it.
Helpful.
But meanwhile, in the sky, like I guess to some extent you want a map of that because you can go from one sky island to another. Like there is an exploration happening in the sky.
Yeah.
Never mind the fact that while there may not be terrain in the entire sky, there is the air. Like, there is the airspace.
True.
You can explore through the air. Like, that is part of the game, right? It's not like when you're in the air, it's not gameplay. It's still gameplay. And it's actually cool gameplay. Being able to fly through the air is actually really exciting. Like, for example, would we say that the sea and the Wind Waker, would we say that the ocean parts are not terrain? Or, like, they aren't terrain, but it isn't like explorable map? It is. So...
Right.
you could say the sky is small, but in actuality, it's actually huge. It's just a lot of it is for flying through. So, and as you progress in the game, and you expand your battery, and you find more options, legitimate extended flight is totally feasible in Tears of the Kingdom. So, I think that's something that maybe some people might underestimate.
Yeah, it's also something that may or may not take you a long time to unlock, depending on how you play the game and what your priorities are.
Yeah. So, but going back to the initial question, how far am I in Tears of the Kingdom? Because that was definitely a tangent.
That
I've
also answering the question.
yeah, I mean, I think I did answer the question because I've explored most of the map. I've done 3 dungeons. I'm getting close to the 4th one. I
Okay.
anticipate I'll probably finish that tonight.
How many hearts do you have? I think I have 13 at the moment.
I'm trying. I don't remember how many hearts I have. It's literally
Just
1,
count
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 hearts. Maybe 14 hearts. Is that right?
One more than me. I have 2 full
whatever
stamina
that
wheels.
is. Yeah. So, I have maxed out my stamina wheels. So
Nice.
yeah.
How many batteries do you have?
6.
Nice. I have 4 batteries at the moment.
Yeah.
13 hearts, 2 stamina wheels, 2 dungeons. All of the surface has been mapped for a while. A significant portion of the underground too, but definitely not all of it. Probably like close to 50% of the underground map.
I might be less than that. I might be 30 to 40. I mean, I could show you. That's not a spoiler, right? No.
No. You can't see anything right
No.
off the bat that's like spoilery.
Well, see, that's not promising. This is mirrored, right? So keep that in mind. But
Right.
so
Okay.
it doesn't
You've
look
probably
like
done
it doesn't look like I've done that much, but I'm telling you, this bottom section I spent like 30 hours in, at least, if not more. Like I
Yeah.
spent a whole day just in this bottom corner right here, and this is the Gerudo region. So, yeah.
Yeah. You've been to a lot of areas I haven't been to. I mean, it's hard to tell how much you have compared to me, but I think I might have a little bit more mapped out than you. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So what I'm curious on, and I'm not sure if it's possible, but I think I might be able to finish the game tomorrow night.
Oh.
Yes. So I haven't streamed Tears of the Kingdom since day 1, and part of that's because, I've been focusing on making videos and just playing the game. But also I've noticed that most people don't want to be spoiled, right?
Yeah.
So not many people watch the stream, which is fine, but it's just kind of like I gotta prioritize what makes sense for me, right? But I'm debating streaming the end of the game tomorrow. But that's entirely dependent upon the poll I'm about to post right now, right?
If there's going to be enough people to want to watch.
Correct. So I got about 80 people currently watching the podcast right now. I'm about to post a poll. I don't know what number we need to get to say yes. You know what? All right. I'm about to put a number that just might seem unrealistic, but all right. Should I? Will you be interested? There we go. I think that's fair. Interested in me streaming the end of my Tears of the King. It's not the end of the game for me because I'm gonna explore 100% everything, right? But
let's put the end of the story.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is, right? It's the end of the story.
Yeah. Streaming the end of the story.
Fun fact: I stumbled across the what is most certainly the lead up to the final boss.
Okay.
And I won't say anything about it, but as soon as I knew for sure that it was the lead up to the boss, because it was making me fight the bosses I hadn't beat from the other dungeons, and I'm like, this happened in Breath of the Wild. I remember this. This means the final boss is coming up. But there were some other things that happened as well that were really, really cool, but I won't say what they are. But yeah, the lead up to the final boss is really epic. but at least the parts I was doing, I easily beat them, but I was like super well equipped. I had like 40 bomb arrows. So I just kind of, bombed everything. But yeah, that's cool.
Was it too hard for you to progress? Like, or
No.
if you think if you really wanted to, you could
I
have pushed
just.
forward.
Oh yeah, I definitely could have. I think
Okay.
especially with all the stuff I had to I have really good materials I could fuse as well
Okay.
that I hadn't even used. But I did die to the first boss, but I wasn't really trying that hard because I wasn't actually trying to beat him.
First
I
boss.
want to go to the dungeon. The first boss that I had not done.
Okay.
Because like in Breath of the Wild, if you hadn't done the bosses, it will force you to fight them.
Oh, fun fact: you can refight any boss in the game.
Oh, how? Do you just have to go back to the dungeon?
No, I actually haven't revisited a dungeon since I've beaten them, so I don't know about that. But
Me either.
after you've beaten a boss in a dungeon, they will reappear in a specific place in the depths.
Oh yes, I have.
There.
I have actually.
Each boss has a special arena in the depths, and they're harder. I think they do more damage. So.
Yeah, I fought the Wind Temple boss in the depths. I didn't realize. Do they just continuously respawn there?
I think every blood moon. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I think
You get really good
I've
parts
actually
from
only
them.
I can say that is true. So if you want to get good parts, I've only done it with one boss, but
I got it from the Wind Temple boss. I got a part that's worth like 30 or 40 damage on its own.
They're pretty good parts. Yeah, and you can't find them anywhere else. It's kind of cool because when you fight the bosses the original time,
you don't get anything.
No, you don't. It's just, but it's a huge advantage to get to go into the depths and find them, fight them again.
Yeah.
And
It's terrifying though, because unless you've lit up the area, you're just fighting in the dark. And you can't attach light roots to the bosses, I've found. It does not work. Or not light roots, blight blooms.
That would have been such a good idea, though. That's a
Yeah,
good. I mean, it is a good idea.
It is a good idea, but it does not work, unfortunately.
Yeah. Netweed, I agree. The Gibdo bones are OP arrows. That's pretty much what they're only good for because they break immediately.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But you
actually
can just
found some Gibdos.
Yeah, and you can farm them. You can farm them. So, and you can just they're I think they're like 30 to 40. I forget they're like 35 for
they're
power
like
or something.
40, I think.
Yeah. So they add a lot of power. But they're single hits. But you can farm them pretty easily. I didn't remember the Gibdos that much after I cleared the main dungeon. I didn't see too much of them after I cleared the main dungeon in the desert, but I did see them underground. So, yeah, you can find them.
I found them on the way down to the final boss.
Oh, man, I want to ask you where it is, but I'm just gonna not. Because we're streaming.
I mean, I'll just tell you it's really obvious.
I think I know where it is, because I went there a little bit, but it was too hard for me to progress early on. It
is somewhere that you're likely to go early on just by accident.
Yeah. But let me kind of get to the chat here. Let me see if I can catch up a little bit, and then we'll start actually diving into topics here. I actually don't have a lot of time today, so I shouldn't be dilly-dallying that much, because for those of you who may be aware, I'm from Miami, and I also am a basketball fan. So if you're able to connect the dots, yes, I do care about the NBA playoffs, and the Miami Heat are playing Game 7 against the Boston Celtics tonight, and this is a scary moment. It's a scary moment, but we still have one game. We still have one more chance to get to the finals. So I will be ending the podcast at 9. So we got about an hour and a half. So I'm gonna be a little quicker.
Cool.
All right, let's see here. So I'm gonna focus on the ads for now, just so I can catch up, and then we'll jump into the topic. So Christopher Lee, DLC might have a huge island like the Great Sky Island with new content, maybe. Oh, totally. I think it would be so easy for them
Yeah.
just to add more Sky Islands, and the more I play Tears of the Kingdom, the more I'm like, wait, hold on a second. There's a bigger world potentially here. So I wouldn't qualify this as a spoiler. I think this is fair to say. There are more Zoras in Tears of the Kingdom than there were in Breath of the Wild. And at least
I've not noticed that yet.
At least one of the Zoras indicates having come from elsewhere. I might have to I may have to fact check myself, but I believe this is the case. And
I don't think I've run across a single Zora in the game yet.
so I guess you haven't gone to Zora's Domain yet.
No.
Okay,
no.
well that would explain why you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But I actually they're where you would expect them to be. But my point is that there is a Zora that expresses having come from another place. Like there were Zoras that were elsewhere. And what's very interesting about this, okay, so where is that elsewhere? Where are these other Zoras? Do they come from deep underwater, potentially? Do they come from another part of the map, potentially? I have barely explored the coast of Hyrule, the eastern coast of Hyrule yet. So I don't know anything about sea traversal or anything like that. I would love to kind of... Maybe that's going to be the big focus for tonight and tomorrow. So... Yeah, but like I think there's a lot of potential to maybe include more sea islands, more sky islands, and there's so much they could do. Like legit, they can just put more islands in the sky. They could have moon exploration if they really wanted to. Like it's not hard to expand the map without even having to go outside of the boundaries. Like you don't even have to do that. So I mean, there's a lot.
Give me some underwater. I still want underwater exploration, because unless some wild thing is in the game that I have not seen, it's just not in there. So that'd be nice.
It's not in there.
I've noticed, I didn't notice this when I was first playing, but if you pay attention, it's not that hard to notice once you fill out the map a bit more, but everywhere that there's water on the surface is like a hard wall underground. So I guess because the water runs there, but I feel like the water's not deep enough in most areas to actually hit the ground.
There are some areas you can be where if you use Ascend, you will ascend straight through the water to the surface of the water from underground. Like usually a cave or something, but I don't know about the depths. I haven't done it through the depths because it's kind of hard to ascend from the depths. Yeah,
usually not.
It's possible, but I think it's usually an area that they intend for you to do it. I don't think you can just do it through the normal ceiling of the depths. Although
usually not close enough to the ceiling to do so.
It'd be interesting to test out though.
Would be.
Yeah. So, yeah, but there's so much potential for DLC areas. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why my chat is freaking out. I'm just trying to read it. But okay, there we go.
It does not wish to be read.
Yeah, there are some really good mini dungeons, Juicy Noise, in the sky for sure. There's a lot of mini dungeons. Yeah. I love it. I love it a lot. Hello there, Jessica. Hello there, Johnny Danger. I don't know if I can 100% the... I'm probably not going to 100% the game before beating Tears of the Kingdom, because I want to start like analyzing the story and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm still gonna 100% the game regardless. This is pretty much how I handle Breath of the Wild. So
minus Korok seeds.
Minus Korok seeds. Minus those.
I might go for all of the Korok seeds where you have to like get the Korok to the friend. I might get all those because those are actually kind of fun.
They are fun. I actually enjoy the Korok quests more in Tears of the Kingdom than Breath of the Wild. I feel like I'm finding them. I don't know if I'm finding them more often, but I see them like, oh, okay, I'll do it. That's
I'm
it.
actually finding the normal quests way less often than I did in Breath of the Wild. Because in Breath of the Wild, I cared to look for them at first.
Mm.
But about 60 to 80 hours into Breath of the Wild, I stopped even trying to find the quests because I was like, I have all my stuff filled out. I don't want to do these puzzles. And so I put 250 hours into Breath of the Wild, and only 80 of those was me paying attention to the puzzles. So playing Tears of the Kingdom, I don't even notice them most of the time. Like I've probably only gone like 20 or 30, and then the rest of them the Korok seeds I've gone have been from the moving the dudes around, which I enjoy. Honestly, I don't really enjoy the basic Korok puzzles. I wish they weren't in the game. I feel like it's kind of lame that they're the same types of puzzles again. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I'm glad you're being honest. I think the Koroks are there. They're not really. They're just kind of there to help fill up the world a little bit more, give you something else to do and unlock inventory space. I don't think it's intended that you do all of them.
Yeah,
so
obviously not.
I don't think it's a big deal. But I mean, I have noticed so. J Biggs. Fun fact: my mother's cousin is married to one of the Heat announcers. Their daughter is a Haitian American singer. That is all I'm going to say further. That's really cool, J Biggs.
Nice.
Dana, I would watch it, Andres Restart, but I just started the game. Totally understand. I'm gonna do more Tears of the Kingdom streams. It'll be like maybe like one day I'll be all right. Let's build a Sky City tonight, right? Or let's like it's just gonna be like fun little experiments or challenges in the game that we can do for an evening. Like I still think I might do a few of those. Yes, Danny Knight, there are boss rematches. They're epic.
Yep, we were just talking about those.
Yeah. All right, so let's see I'm not gonna take down the poll yet. I'm probably gonna leave it up for the most of the night, just to get as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So far, of the 39 votes in, 64% have said yes, they would be interested. So,
64%.
Yeah. I'm basically what I'm looking at here is
much higher than I thought it was gonna be.
If I think that like at least like 40 people will watch, then I'll probably do it. Because I could be working on another video tomorrow, or I could just be kind of relaxing, playing the game at my own pace. So we'll see. But yeah, right. If there's enough people that suggest they're interested, I will do it tomorrow. But don't
suggest you're interested unless you're gonna watch.
Right, yeah. Say yes if you actually think you'll watch tomorrow night. I'll probably start 7 p.m. Eastern time for maybe a little bit earlier because it may take me a long time to beat it. Like, it may be a long stream, so, you know.
I've heard inklings that the final boss is very challenging.
I'll be ready. So, let's now start diving into the topics here, Brandon. So,
all right.
The big one, well, I guess it depends on where you're coming from, but there is a rumor that Nintendo is going to have an additional digital showcase this year. So, this is what was said.
What exactly does that even mean?
So, according to Ethan Gotch of Kotaku, he's saying on Twitter, sources are telling me both PlayStation and Nintendo will have additional digital showcases this year. Keep your eyes tuned to this channel and watch the space for more developments in the coming weeks and months. So, Brandon, do you want me to give? Should I give my take first, or do you want to?
Well, I just feel like the wording is very confusing. In addition to what the direct we have, the normal amount of directs to expect. And it what is the I don't understand the context here. Is he saying there's going to be another direct more than we usually get in the year?
I think I'll give you some context here that maybe you haven't considered. All right, so he's talking about both PlayStation and Nintendo, and we just had a PlayStation showcase.
Yes.
So I think the implication here is that there will be at least one more showcase for Sony. Right, hence additional. Now,
so he's just saying there will be a Nintendo Direct this year.
saying there will be some form of a digital showcase, which for Nintendo is
Well,
usually called the Nintendo Direct.
well, of course there's gonna be. At
Yeah,
least in September.
but
Probably gonna be 2 more.
he also says to stay tuned and watch the space for more developments in the coming weeks and months. So when he says in the coming weeks, that means he's thinking that there will be some level of announcement in the coming weeks. Now, given that PlayStation just had their event, you could argue he's implying that that there's some level of news on a Nintendo showcase, let's assume a Direct, could be coming within the next few weeks. What is a few weeks? Could that be 2 weeks? Could that be 6 weeks? I think all those fall under a few weeks. So it definitely a lot of wiggle room here. And I've seen people kind of taking this news and saying, well, duh. But
that's what I'm thinking. It's exactly the thought going through my head.
Sure. But I also think that, I mean, it's really hard to kind of gauge the percentage of people that feel one way or the other without, doing some sort of large-scale poll. But
right,
because even if I were to do a poll on this channel, right? Like most of you guys follow me, you're probably a lot. I'm not saying we all agree on the same thing. We don't. We disagree on things all the time. That's kind of part of the channel. I like that we kind of have more intellectual discussions and debates. But I feel that if I were to put out a poll, the percentage of people that would agree that there would be a Direct soon on my channel might be more skewed than if I were to put it like elsewhere. You know what I mean? So, my only point is that it might be a little hard to truly gauge just what people think across the board, right? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's a little challenging. And I know there are some people that doubt there will be a Direct this summer. Some people think we'll have to wait until September. And I think that's wrong. Just because
kind of ludicrous.
Because the only game we know about is Pikmin 4. I don't think I can see Nintendo skipping June, just because right now Tears of the Kingdom's really hot. We're at the end. We're in the end of May, and that's potentially the even crazier part. But so I can see Nintendo waiting most of June without giving us any major news. But they're gonna have to talk about Pikmin 4 again. They're gonna have to release Wave 5 of the Mario Kart DLC. We're kind of getting close to that being due. The Splatoon DLC also likely has to come out within the next few months as well. And then, well, there has to be games, for August, September, October, November, December. And while I can see Nintendo skipping June, like I said, not every single other month for the year. There's going to be a few other games. So they need to make announcements, and I don't think they'll make those announcements in a September Direct. They make them before then. The September Direct isn't used to make announcements for the holidays. It's used to give us updates for games that we already know about for the holidays and to start announcing things for the early part of next year. So I think that the news has to happen beforehand, and the level of news that I think we need is more than just a social media announcement or two, and more than just a partner showcase. For those who don't know, a partner showcase is just third-party stuff. Sometimes that may include something like a Mario Rabbids or a Hyrule Warriors, because they'll be developed by separate companies, spin-offs that have some Nintendo property in there, but that still probably wouldn't suffice. I mean, could they do that? Could there be a partner showcase that maybe has like one big third-party game that's going to be like, I don't know. I'm trying to. I would have to think of like a new third-party game that would feature Nintendo IP. Let's say there's a random studios. I don't know. Let's say Platinum Games is developing a Star Fox game, and because it's Platinum Games,
Star Fox is also the one I was going to suggest.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I would hope it'd be a new game. But let's just hypothetically, right? Let's just say that's in a partner showcase. Okay, well, great. We got that, and then there'll be a couple like third-party ports that we might like. We'll have Pikmin 4. They'll do the Splatoon DLC. They'll do the Mario Kart DLC, and streaming again. Hopefully, it pops back in. Okay, I think we're back. The computer crashed, so that's what happened.
And it was trying to sabotage.
Yeah, let me know if you guys. It looks like you guys can see me. I can see my preview there, so we should be back. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I don't know. Just crashed. It's actually happened a couple times in the last few weeks, so there's probably something wrong that I need to fix. So hopefully it doesn't crash again, but I think we'll be okay. I see that we had gotten a super chat earlier from Samuel A. Thank you for that super chat, buddy. And Samuel A. Says and asks, do you think the Direct may not even be a Direct, but more? Not only game announcements, but details on new hardware Switch 2 presentation. I've said this before. I'm going to stick by it. I'm not committed to Switch 2 happening this year or not happening this year. I'm in the window. I'm in the thinking that the window is between holiday 2023 and holiday 2024 in terms of release. If it's coming out this year, I think it'll be announced this summer. So maybe this digital showcase is not a Direct. It's kind of like a bigger sort of event that announces Switch 2 along with games. Maybe. That's possible. But I also think it's totally feasible, especially because there have been different sites suggesting so, like Nikkei, that it's not happening till next year. So I'm just not sure yet. But if there's not a Switch 2 announced this summer, then I for sure think it's happening next year. That's where
I'm not sure they'll announce the next Switch with game announcements in the same presentation, unless those games are like exclusive to the next Switch, because I feel like they don't want to be confusing in their marketing. Like if they announce game like the Switch and then they announce a bunch of games in the same presentation, they make a bunch of sorry, that was not English. They may make a bunch of people think that those are like Switch 2 exclusive games, so they might not want to do that. I don't know for, that's kind of just a theory in my head that they might be thinking about that. Because, you got to be clear on your marketing. But also, we don't know what exactly their stance is going to be on exclusive games for the Switch 2. And we're just kind of guessing based off what we think would be good.
It's tough. It's tough because it can go either way, for sure. So I'm not sure. But anyways, just kind of going back to what we were kind of talking about. I mean, it's still about Direct stuff, so we're still on the same topic. But just going back to before, I was really cut off by my computer with the crash. Thank you guys for who have still stuck around. If you could like the stream, that would be appreciated. Ganondorf did shut off the stream. That's right. But yeah, I think that there's gonna be a presentation. Now, it's coming from someone from Kotaku, so some people maybe don't want to take them as seriously. And I'll say that there are definitely practices there that I don't think are totally promising, so maybe a grain of salt in terms of like their reputation, but also they would be privy to this kind of information because they are a big news outlet that's heavily involved with the games industry. So I think that they could still very, very well be privy to this kind of information. But again, it's not really that much of a shocker, as Brandon kind of brought up earlier. So, yeah, I mean...
There's a need for information.
Yeah, there is a need for information.
I think earlier you were asking whether they could do like just a third-party presentation with like a big collaborative game. And, I mean, I guess they could do that maybe... I mean, if they want to wait all the way till September, I think was the question.
Yeah.
I think possibly they could if they announce a good amount of games for.
There would have to be like at least like
August.
3 announcements, I think, to get us. I think Nintendo will have to announce 3 games. 3 games that the Nintendo fan base would care about. That would make sense. And I suggested Metroid Prime 4, F-Zero. I was going to suggest Metroid Prime and F-Zero, and maybe Star Fox. But that's just like a Star Fox is just random. I said that because I could see Star Fox being made by a third-party developer that's like a partnership that could show up in a partner showcase. I could see that.
Right.
But that's not based off beyond just what I explained. There's no other, there's no rumor, there's no inside information. I just want there to be a Star Fox game. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Nintendo has branched out with Star Fox a lot, actually. So, Star Fox Adventures was made by Rare. Rare at the time was part of Nintendo, so kind of doesn't count. But there was also Star Fox Assault, which was made by Star Fox Command. I never played that game, unfortunately.
I heard it was not amazing.
There are some cool concepts, at least. Who was it developed by? It was developed by Q Games. I mean, I think this is is Q Games owned by Nintendo?
I don't know.
Q Games Limited is a video game developer based in Kyoto, which works closely with both Nintendo and Sony. So I guess technically no, but that also depends on the timing because that was years ago. So yeah, but also Nintendo Entertainment Analysis and Development was also working on it.
I think the problem with having only a third-party showcase at this point is even if you announce games up till September, you're gonna need games like all through the holiday, and you're gonna need Nintendo games through the holiday. And I don't think you can go announce. I mean, if you look at 2020, there was a very, very crazy scenario where the whole world was in a pandemic and everything was going to shit. And they did announce things very, very closely in a September Direct. But otherwise, they don't really do that.
Pandemic, right? That was a global catastrophe.
Yeah, there was extenuating circumstances or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, they gotta announce things before September, I feel, because it's just too close to release. I think if you announce everything in September, you could announce like one or two of the holiday games in September, but to announce the entire holiday lineup in September seems ridiculous.
I think announcing any like major holiday release in September is just a weirdly
it's usually not the major ones.
I mean, they did do Fire Emblem Engage, which came out in January. In September,
Right.
like that was already a very quick turnaround. That was a very quick turnaround.
You save smaller stuff for announcements in September itself.
I can see smaller. I mean, yeah, some smaller stuff, but like nothing major. Like they're not gonna like announce Metro Prime 4 in September to come out in November. They're not gonna do that.
Seems very unlikely.
No, and for those that may argue, well, Prime Remastered had nothing, but Prime Remastered is a remaster, and I believe the implication of Prime Remastered being shadow dropped in the way it has was because they probably got word that Prime 4 was near completion. They're like, oh, we need to get Prime Remastered out now because Prime 4 is so close. By the way, Prime 4 is rumored to be coming out by the end of this fiscal year. So they
gotta announce that.
Yeah. It's happened, man.
Go.
This is a really good. This is a really good year. Like I was just thinking about it. Like Fire Emblem Engage January, solid. February we had Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe with the epilogue stuff, and Metroid Prime Remastered, very solid.
Yeah.
March was a down month, I would say, but we had Bayonetta Origins, which is a quality release. April had Advance Wars, which is also a quality release, and Future Redeemed from Xenoblade.
Oh yeah.
So that epic. And then Tears of the Kingdom in May is arguably one of the greatest games ever made. So that's May. And we had the Mario movie also that came out shortly before Tears of the Kingdom. And June, I mean, we don't know what's happening, June. We'll see. But those first 5 months, that's pretty darn good. You know?
Yeah.
And that's right after a strong second half from last year, which was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Bayonetta 3, Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Splatoon 3, and the first half of the year was also strong with Legends Arceus and Kirby's Forgotten Land. Nintendo's been on a pretty good roll month by month. Like if you're just thinking about it in terms of quality games, it's been consistent. If you're looking for like Game of the Year games, that's maybe where you're going to be disappointed because excluding Tears of the Kingdom, there hasn't been any games that rival like the very, very top of the industry.
I mean, this year, to be fair, the industry's been in such a state outside of Nintendo that I would venture to say that any game that releases in a quality state is already gunning for Game of the Year if Tears of the Kingdom didn't exist. Like, it's just so bad out there if you're into non-Nintendo stuff.
Oh, well, Hogwarts Legacy is solid.
you
It's
think?
not.
No.
It's not.
Well,
I heard it was.
the problem is even if the game is good, that does not mean the game will run good or correctly
I guess it depends on the
or as
platform.
well as it should.
I mean, that's apparently, no, not apparently. I think we mentioned this briefly. No, I did a Q&A on the stream on Thursday, so maybe I didn't talk about it with you. But Hogwarts Legacy was delayed to this holiday for Switch.
This does not surprise me. Have I have very low expectations for that port. The game's already beyond demanding on other platforms.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, but maybe they'll get it right. Some people think it's a sign.
Hope.
Some people think it's a sign that it means Switch 2. I don't.
Be honest, I don't think so either, because they're going to have to release the game on the original Switch either way, because they already said they were going to.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to. They could cancel. It's not like I don't think it's legally binding that they have to.
They can market the Switch 2 version and still release the Switch version, but the Switch version still has to be good, because that's the majority who are going to buy the game for. So I think it's really just they're just want to make sure it's good, and they're figuring it's
make
better.
Sure it's at least playable.
Yeah, it's better to come out with a version that plays relatively well than to come out with a botched version and have it be a controversy.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
especially because this game doesn't need any more
controversy
controversy because of the whole J.K. Rowling.
Oh God, yeah.
So I think they just want to.
I hate her association with the brand.
I think they're really just focused trying to make it a good game, and I actually respect that. So is it a little unfortunate that the Switch version is the one that's delayed? Yeah.
To be fair, I mean the other versions, even like the base version, or the base PS4 and Xbox One versions, got delayed a ton, past the PS5 and the PC.
Yeah, it seems like the weaker the hardware, the more it's delayed.
Yeah. To be fair, they all needed delays, even the most powerful hardware.
Yeah, but, so I think I guess part of that was the weird the conversation with that is that some people might feel that they delayed the Switch version because third parties just aren't good with Nintendo, but I would think that the Switch version of Hogwarts Legacy would sell better than the PS4 and the Xbox One versions.
I mean, I definitely imagine there's more people playing the Switch than the PS4 and Xbox One. Yeah. Especially the Xbox One.
How about them combined?
Be a very dead platform.
How about them combined? I still feel like
combined. I feel like still probably Switch.
Yeah. So I think
Xbox
it's more of a...
One doesn't offer a bunch, because I feel like if you're an Xbox fan, you already either moved on to like the One X or the Series consoles.
Yeah. I also think that with the Switch version, there's already kind of an expectation that third-party games are going to come later, and there's still value with the Switch version because it's portable, and I think the other cool little interesting consideration is that it's going to come out right before the holidays, so it's going to give Hogwarts Legacy another kind of boost and being brought back to like relevance again right before the holidays. A lot of people might buy it for Switch, and having it portable might be a big deal. So, it might work out for them, maybe. But let's come back to the chat here, and then we'll continue on with the next topics. All right. So looking here, Darthopy, I think that the next coming Nintendo Direct may bring just not Metro Prime 4, but Metro Prime 2 Echoes Remastered. Brandon, I think I hear my voice echoing. I don't know if there's something on your end where the no audio is reaching the mic, but I hear it a little bit.
I don't know how that would be. I don't even... When you were saying that, Discord wasn't even saying I was speaking.
Maybe it's on my end.
Yeah, I'm wearing headphones. There's literally no other audio source that could be coming from my PC other than the headphones.
I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know. I don't know. Is this muted? Yeah, it is. Well, it's not happening now, so.
Weird.
I hear it every once in a while. I hear it. I don't know. I'll take out my headset for a moment, but. Not sure. I don't hear it
I don't
now.
know.
Well, sometimes I hear it. I think it's on your end, but it's not that big a deal.
I guess I could lower the volume of my headset.
You know what though? If everyone in the chat can't hear it, then that's all that really matters. Because it doesn't. Yeah. So guys, if everything sounds fine for you, if you don't hear any looping, that's okay. Because it might just be like a Discord issue between you and
Yeah,
I,
maybe.
and because they should only be able to hear your voice as an audio track, hopefully.
Right.
I'm not sure. Let me know in the chat, guys. Anyways, back to Darth OP's chat. I think that we're in a situation with Metroid Prime 2 and 3 that if they don't come out before Prime 4, then I think they will eventually come, but it's going to be like a Wind Waker Twilight Princess situation where the timing of that is really comes down to when they feel like it might be good.
Yeah.
So that's tough. But I could see those coming out during the summer if Prime 4 is coming out at the end of this year. Maybe they want to do like a Metroid Prime marathon. Because I can kind of see... I can see them getting away with doing something like that a month or two after. Like right now, no, because we're playing Tears of the Kingdom. But what are we going to be playing in like July before Pikmin 4? Like if it's like maybe like early July, right? Like a few weeks before, maybe that might be a good time to release Prime 2. So we'll see. We'll see on that one. Aaron Rat's saying it sounds fine. Not saying they don't hear it. Okay, so it looks like it's just me, which is fine.
Weird.
Okay. Yeah, today's been a massive technical difficulty day. I'm sorry. I apologize, but we're gonna push through. For the most part, it seems like everything's okay. Don't crash, computer. Don't do it. Don't do it, please.
Don't you dare, Ganondorf.
Not today. I'm gonna kill you tomorrow. So you know, maybe I'll wait a little bit if you don't crash the computer. All right. So let's talk a little bit about this Pokemon controversy, and then we'll just kind of focus a little bit more on Tears of the Kingdom to close out. So, basically, I think the Pokemon Home thing is getting resolved, but they had announced Pokemon Home, which is, I mean, Pokemon Home's already been out, but they were going to announce the update that allowed connectivity for Scarlet and Violet, and that's great, but the problem with that is that this is May, the end of May. The game came out last November. They announced it, and then and then it was coming, and then they had to backtrack on that, and they pushed it up a little bit. That's just a messy messaging, and I think it's bad that it's taking them long to do this, just to offer up connectivity. Yeah. But it's also bad that they had to kind of backtrack on the timing. But to make matters worse, there was a Scarlet and Violet raid event that was causing glitches and game crashes. So they had to cancel the raid event.
I saw that.
And when you account for this history of Scarlet and Violet and all the crashes and issues, and us still waiting for patches to clean up the overall performance and glitchiness of the game, it's just not a good look. You know, I enjoyed the game. You know, I'm gonna buy the DLC. I'm gonna play the DLC, probably. And actually, maybe me saying probably that alone is indicative of where they're at, because I enjoyed Scarlet and Violet, but if the DLC doesn't look very hype, especially with all the performance issues that we're seeing, I might not buy the DLC. Now, I probably will. I'm a big Pokemon fan, but I think that sentiment it's not just from me, but I think there are many that probably share that sentiment, that maybe even if they bought Scarlet and Violet, they might be a little bit more skeptical about buying the DLC afterwards because of what they've done. And maybe they might be some more skeptical about buying future Pokemon games afterwards if it doesn't really excite them, because the experience of Scarlet and Violet has been greatly impacted by the glitches, by the game crashes, by the performance issues. So it's just not a good look. I talked about this last week. I put out a video. My stance is that I think they need to start making improvements. I think that when you consider the timetable for the DLC, that the first wave's coming out this holiday and the second wave's coming out next year, that's definitely a longer timetable than it was for the DLC for Sword and Shield, the previous mainline Pokemon game generation. They had the first wave come out the summer after Sword and Shield, and then the second wave came out the holiday. So they've pushed things up a little bit, perhaps giving them a little bit more time. And it is just DLC, right? Like, I was happy that they were doing DLC for Sword and Shield because I thought that kind of meant that they were going to give themselves a little bit more space to kind of work on the games.
Yeah.
And this DLC taking longer suggests that as well. So that's good news. But I hope that they don't do a weird thing where they'll outsource a remake and then they'll bring out a new game just a month and a half later and then come out with another game 8 months after that. Like, that's what they did with Legends Arceus. They had Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl come out in November, Legends Arceus came out in January, and then they still came out with Scarlet and Violet in November. They could have given Legends Arceus an actual holiday, because Legends Arceus was selling extremely well. Sales died down, but imagine had they offered more extensive DLC throughout the year to keep it relevant, expand the game, and have that be their premier new Pokemon experience for people to enjoy during the holidays. It would have done well. Would it have done as well as Scarlet and Violet? No. But imagine had Scarlet and Violet gotten an extra year of polish and maybe not even a whole year, maybe 6 months, but like just, a little bit more time, and that would have been a big success. And there wouldn't be this conversation, So
Yeah.
I'm not even saying to not have an annual release. I'm not saying that. I understand they want to do that, but when you forcing multiple mainline releases per year, that I mean, you gotta draw a line somewhere. So
I mean, it's clearly obvious to anybody with eyes that they don't have what's required to make the games of the type of ambition that they are currently trying to make. Whether that's the technology they're working with, the budget, the time, all of those things combined probably. But something is just not adding up. They're going for something that they cannot deliver on, and that is quite obvious. And when I saw that that raid event that they had to cancel through the glitches, I just retweeted that. I was like, this game is honestly an embarrassment. Like, I think Nintendo is probably embarrassed about this game. I mean, they even said publicly, we're sorry. Like, this is not up to our quality standards. This is not the type of games we want to make, or the quality of games we want to make, rather. Yeah. And it's a shame because I was really excited for Scarlet and Violet. I think it's actually probably a really great game, underneath all of the atrociousness of the way it was released. I think if it released well, had an extra year to not only fix the bugs, but make it look a lot less unsightly. Honestly, I think if the game had 2 more years, it could go from like a game that has potential to a game that's like amazing. Because I think Pokemon really hasn't.
I think Scarlet and Violet could be a game of the year kind of game if it had the right polish.
Yeah, because it really doesn't fulfill its potential. Because on top of all like the glitches and the bugs and the low frame rate and horrible performance, the game not looking good. The game in a lot of places looks like they didn't finish designing it. Like, there are some areas, like, and they showed in the trailers, look a lot better, a lot more design, a lot more intricate. There's lots of stuff going on. And then there's the other parts of the world are just, like, nothing. Like, they didn't finish designing it. And I feel like if they were given another year or two to finish the game, like, actually finish it, polish it up, make it look, run, and play to the best of its potential, it could have been something really, really special. But I feel like it's something that I don't even understand how it sold as much as it did. I feel like there's got to be a lot of disappointed customers with that, because I feel like honestly it's one of the worst quality games I've ever seen from Nintendo. I'm surprised that they allowed that game to ship. I'm surprised they didn't take it off the eShop.
Game sold 22.5 million or something.
Yeah, I guess when that happens, you just kind of are forced to leave it up.
No, it's still a fun game. So, you know, I understand where you're coming from, but it's not. They're not gonna take it down. That's not.
I guess the game still technically functions. They'll leave it up.
Yeah, but you know, it's interesting because Netweed09 actually said in the chat, this kind of relates to what you were saying, Brandon, that the open world is great, but the lack of NPCs and buildings really hurt the old school feel of things. And just for in case people jump in the wrong time, this is not in reference to Tears of the Kingdom. This is in reference to Scarlet and Violet. Yeah, like that is an interesting point because like the towns, like you can't go into any of the buildings really. Most Pokemon games you can go into the buildings. And that it's like the towns are basically just there for gym leader battles and healing Pokemon and eating some food. Like that's it.
Yeah.
It in some ways it's almost like it's lacking a bit of soul.
When you design open world, you need to design a reason for the world to be open, not just do the same kind of things in a bigger place.
Yeah. Celtic 14 in chat. Hi, Andres and Brandon. Hopefully, Summer and Tone Direct. Woo. Heat Celtics Game 7 coming on. Woo. Yep. I'm watching that in a few minutes. We're gonna record the beginning, so I'll catch up in a bit. But I'm gonna start. That's why I'm ending the show at 9 tonight, or sooner. We'll see. But yeah. So in terms of the Pokemon stuff, I just hopefully we gotta continue talking about it. Make it known. It would be really cool if maybe they could patch in like side quests and stuff, but granted, we already beat the game, so I don't know. Probably not gonna happen. But yeah, Scarlet and Violet could have been a lot more. That's the unfortunate part. It could have been a lot more, and it ended up not being. It's a good game with a lot of issues, but it could have been an incredible game with minimal issues. Had it had maybe 6 months, a year. I don't want to say 2 years because I have a hard time believing they would take that long to develop a game. But
I think they need 6 years or 6 months and a year or 2 a year just to fix the technical issues of the game.
I get that. Yeah. So maybe that's why we haven't seen any major patches to fix it yet, because it takes that long to get it to work right. So yeah, you may be onto something there. But let's now talk about Tears of the Kingdom again. I'll go do a scan later. We should be going back live here in a moment.
Cool.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to close out the podcast early because we can't continue with it crashing randomly like this.
Yeah.
It looks
off the show too much.
Yeah, it looks like we're back on. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. Computer crashed again. This hasn't happened live. I mean, it happened. I think it happened once during a live stream a couple weeks ago, but I think that's it. Like, it hasn't been this bad before. Yeah. So I don't know. We're gonna have to. I'll take a look at some things. I'll see if we can maybe figure out why it's crashing. I don't know.
Put my newfound IT skills to the test.
I'm going to try and end the stream within a few minutes, at least kind of wrap things up so at least we cover everything, right? So we briefly mentioned it. Oh, no. The blood moon is happening in my game.
Oh, the blood moon rises.
Oh, God. This is why the computer's crashing, bro.
I told you Ganondorf's on us, bro.
Yeah.
He's trying to get us.
Yeah, the glue. My computer's suffering from gloom. Clearly, that's the problem.
Clearly.
So I may indeed have to defeat Ganondorf tomorrow night for stream. We'll see. By the way, guys, I put up that poll, so please let me know. 80 people have voted, and 61% said they would be interested in watching the end tomorrow.
Nice.
So that's
I honestly
more than
didn't
half.
think it would be above like 30%.
Yeah.
I thought people were really not gonna want to see spoilers.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Yeah.
Pretty good amount of people.
Yeah. Well, maybe most people that watch the streams aren't scared are already done playing Tears of the Kingdom. So
yeah, more hardcore fans of the
not
channel
everyone.
are probably more hardcore Nintendo fans too.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, obviously not everyone, and that's fine. But you know, it's a decent amount. Looks like so. Yeah. Say yes if you plan on watching stream tomorrow. If you're not sure or no, just let me know. That way I can gauge if I should even bother streaming tomorrow. There's also this issue of my computer crashing, so that's another issue. I'll see if there's something I can do to figure it out. But let's wrap up. Let's wrap up the show here. So we talked about Tears of the Kingdom earlier, a little bit, but there was a patch, right? So none of the duplication glitches work anymore. Nintendo patched that out. So Brandon, did you even use the duplication before it was patched?
No, I still don't know how it even works.
Oh, well, there's several different ways to do it. So yeah, I did it a little bit. I did it to duplicate some diamonds, and that was it. I kind of stopped. I didn't need it to really get anything done. The one thing I noticed in the game that I
did
kind
not use
of
glitches that much.
the one thing that I kind of understand what people might have wanted to duplicate is like to get like jewels for money, because it feels like it's kind of hard to make money in this game. Maybe you want to go to stores and buy all the armor
it depends on where you go.
Yeah, it does depend. Which is why I felt like maybe we could kind of talk a little bit about our playing strategies in Tears of the Kingdom. So, what I do, there's a number of things I do, but like for example, whenever I see a wooden barrel, wooden box, a metal box, I use Ultra Hand, I raise it up, I push up on the stick, and I drop it, and it breaks. And it usually gives me arrows and food. And I pretty much have been between 150 and 250 arrows the entire game, and I use my bow all the time. Like I'm not sparing with my arrow usage. I use it all the time. But whenever I see a bokoblin camp, I slay them all. I break all the rocks. I get all the jewels and gems, and I break all the boxes to get all the arrows. So I usually get more resources going in. I usually lose minimal resources going in, and I get a lot more going out. And it's usually a matter of, man, I don't know what weapons to take. Like that's usually my issue. It's not really running out. So break boxes, kill bokoblins left and right, and especially underground. Underground is where I think there's most value in killing enemies. Up in the surface, you don't get Zonite for killing enemies. You get them underground, which is where there's a lot more value. But
it's just less. Sometimes there's less boxes and things. Like if you find enemies underground, there's almost it's almost certainly a camp of some sort that has like a ton of rocks and Zonite. Got a ton of boxes to get arrows. On the surface, there may be like one box that's like a couple arrows in it, and that's like it. There's a ton of smaller encampments to find enemies. There are bigger ones too that are worthwhile, but there's also a lot of smaller ones that are definitely not worth doing unless you just really need a quick weapon or something.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely hunting bokoblins in the depths is a great way to get resources. The surface, not as much, but it's okay. Is there anything that you do beyond that?
Well, I think the most interesting thing about this game is you get resources in each area to help you with the other areas. So I've just been kind of exploring a certain area until I find that I need resources from another area, and then I go over there, and then I start exploring that. And it's just a lot of the different layers play very differently from each other. So if I get bored in one particular area, I just move on.
Yeah, like the surface, the sky, and the depths each have like a kind of like a different type of gameplay. It's also cool, like considering how the caves mix up the surface gameplay as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, also obviously the sky is very intertwined with the surface as well. So sometimes you have to think about how you can get to the sky from the surface. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of different types of gameplay, especially when you get into like building different vehicles. On the channel, I put out a little video. You may have seen it elsewhere or on the channel. One with what I think is one of the easiest and best vehicles in Tears of the Kingdom, and it's basically an air bike, where you got two Zonite air fans, and just the control stick, and you attach those together, and that functions as an air bike. And it uses minimal battery, minimal resources, and you can use it to fly around everywhere, fairly quick. Yeah.
How long did the fans' durability last? Because I have issues with like the wings' durability is so bad.
I think that depends on the type of zonai device. I may be incorrect in saying this, but I've never seen a air fan green out. I've seen the wing green out pretty quick, but not the
Yeah.
fans.
The airfield will
Yeah.
green out within just a couple 100 feet.
So, put it this way. I've used the air bike, and I've attached 4 different batteries on it. And I think at the time, I don't remember how much battery life. I added at least 4, maybe 5 battery, whole batteries on top of the 4 battery capsules. And I flew into this guy the entire time, and nothing greened out. Nothing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so... I think it just depends on the type of device. So my speculation is,
I might just stop using the wings.
I think
garbage.
I think because that time limit, they're only kind of good early game. I mean, there might be some other utility to it. I've seen some people use them as like their shields for some reason. There's maybe some other things about it, but I think that you may be able to build a device that, in theory, could probably stay in the air for almost forever. There's one interesting strategy that you can do with recall. So if you're on a flying device, you can, in theory, use recall on the flying device while you're in the air.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of trying to go straight somewhere, it won't be good because you'll reverse backwards. But if you're just trying to like stay in the air, maybe circling around a flying enemy like a Gleeok, you can use recall to float backwards, and the duration of recall will allow you to recharge a little bit of your battery, so you can stay in the air for longer. So
you just have to make sure you don't let your battery die.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're probably... Unless you just have not very much battery, it's going to take too long to charge it up all the way.
Well, I mean, you can charge up 2 cells during the recall time while you're in the air. So basically what I'm saying is the recall can, every time you get a chance to use it, it can recharge up to 2 whole battery.
If you let your battery die out, do you not have to recharge all of them to use it again?
No.
I thought you did.
I don't think so. Well, if it dies out entirely, I think you might be right, like stamina. But if you...
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you let all your battery die, you're not going to have time for the recall for it to charge all the way back up. So you're going to have to not let all of your battery die out.
Don't let the whole thing die out. You're right on that. Yeah. So that's a neat little strategy. Now, one problem with that is the wing glider, it might not last that long. But I wonder, though, and this is something that may be worth testing out. I'm not sure it's time, but perhaps distance traveled with some of these devices. Because, the floating platforms, the floating Zonai platforms, I've used those as flying devices before, and those will green out. I used to think that they were infinite.
Yeah, they will.
They're not infinite, but they also are. So I've been able to fly one of those Zonai platforms high up into the air, the very top where it says you can't go any further. I've been able to do that with I did it early game. I just had a flame emitter and a air balloon, and I would just hit it. It would raise up, and then it would stop because my battery was only like at 1 or 2, and then I would let it recharge. And because the Zonai platform stays in the air wherever you left it, doesn't move, I would stay where I was at, recharge, and continue going up little by little. And after, I don't remember, in half an hour, I got to the very top. And it didn't green out ever. I could have stayed there forever. But I only went upwards. I didn't travel very far on any other axis of the coordinates. So maybe,
that one definitely seems like green out during to how far you go from the state of origin, I guess. But not vertically. That's interesting.
Now,
because I was trying to get from one island to another, and I had it green out trying to get back. So it does seem like distance traveled. It's not necessarily distance from the point of origin. It's just total distance traveled. Because I was trying to actually get closer back to where it spawned, and it greened out on me.
Now, one other thought is that maybe when you're going upwards, it just doesn't
doesn't count that as durability, I guess.
Either that, or going upwards is just not as much. I guess.
Maybe. I feel like it definitely would have still greened out over
I'll
half
say
an
this:
hour to an hour, though.
going upwards, you're at least going up a couple thousand. Because I was able to get to like 3,300 something. Around there, give or take 100.
I feel like it definitely isn't counting it. Because I feel like it would have.
2,000. I mean, 2,000 would take you pretty much across the map of Hyrule, right?
I don't know.
At least like a big chunk of it.
A big chunk, yeah, definitely. I'm not sure exactly how much that would be, to be honest.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is I feel that would be enough to get it to green out. If you were to travel 2,000 meters in one direction. So what I'm getting at is when I went upwards vertically, it was about 2,000 meters, if not more. So, and it didn't green out. So to your point, it may not be vertical distance. They may not count vertical distance at all, and it's just the X and Y coordinate distance.
Maybe because it's so... Well, not necessarily. Like, on that kind of device, it's not really that much slower to go up than it is any other direction. But it is typically harder to go straight up than it is to go, like, out.
I've also seen the air balloons green out. So the air balloons I've seen green out.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, I've seen them green out. I've seen the Zonai platforms green out, and I've seen the wing gliders green out. But I haven't seen air fans green out yet. Maybe they don't. They might just they may just not green out at all. You know what? I think I know what it is. I've noticed something. So there are Zonai devices that use battery, and there are others that don't. The wing glider greens out, doesn't use battery. The air balloon greens out, doesn't use battery. The Zonai platforms green out, don't use battery. But I've never seen any device that doesn't use battery green out.
That does use battery.
That does use battery green out, yeah. Now,
I think the only one that would be exception would be rockets, but they're intended to do so.
Well, yeah, they're short term. Yeah, that's not based on battery life, really. It just they die. I mean, they use your battery.
They do take battery though.
Yeah, they do.
So they are the exception to that rule.
Yeah. The control stick technically doesn't use battery, but it does when it's connected to something else. It doesn't do anything unless it's connected to something that does.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't take battery. It just activates other things that take battery.
And then once it's connected to something that does use battery, it does technically control battery. So I think that's like a somewhat of an exception. But because
it doesn't take battery, it just controls things that take battery. It in itself does not take more battery to use, I don't think. It
doesn't. Which is why you might argue maybe it could potentially also green out like the other things. But I think because it can use battery when it's connected to other devices, it falls into that category. Maybe. This is speculation. We're trying to kind of figure out how the mechanics work. Let's see what people are saying in the chat, because I think some people are considering some things I've noticed as well. Let's see. Manu, the wing is the only device to decay from your experience. There are others, as we've discussed. AB James, I still don't know what those bubble gems do after beating those things in caves. Don't spoil, though. I've yet to visit Hateno or Kakariko Village.
Yes, I have figured out what the bubble gems do. I will tell you it's not in either of those locations.
Yeah.
So, good luck.
It's useful. I think you'll eventually find it. It's just, yeah.
I've only gotten one thing from that, by the way. I haven't found the second location where they go.
I've found it several times. I'm not even trying to look for it. I just see it randomly.
It took me I don't go to the surface all that often, to be fair. Except for when I was getting all of the towers, and I want to do all of the fairy quests.
I want to do all the great fairy quests. I want to do all the stable quests.
Yes, stable quests are also great.
Pen is
and there's
awesome.
Story to it.
So long. He's so cool.
He's so great.
Yeah. I think Pen should join the Star Fox route.
Oh, that'd be dope.
It would be pretty dope. Falco would be like, "You're not my cousin Rivali." Yeah. Let's see here. AB James, have yet to use a hydrant. Don't know what they are for, but got some in a Zonai dispenser.
Mm,
They
they're
release
for
water.
lava.
They have more application than that.
True. I I don't I don't know if I really needed to use them for more than that. But
It's a
I wouldn't be shocked, yeah, if they had more uses. I saw somebody build a horse washing stable using the fire hydrants. I saw your video. You made a shower.
yeah. I made a
And
shower.
yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I imagine you could use water to like push stuff. Like
Oh, I bet.
yeah, like if you want gears or a fan, you can maybe do
Mm.
that. That's one option. You could use it to clean up sludge, but
Oh yeah, clean up the sludge.
yeah. So it's
I
useful for
haven't needed
that.
to go over there, so I haven't thought about that.
Yeah. So those are some
Oh, I guess I have
applications.
seen one. I have seen one Zora because I did get close enough when I was getting all the towers. I
Okay.
found one stuck in some sludge near the tower that I needed to get the tower. So, but other than that, it's the only Zora I've seen in the game.
Okay. Chrono Rig, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Chrono says, "Hey Andre, I've been traveling through Colombia and actually found Tears of the Kingdom Pro Controller and had to cop it. Oh,
Nice.
was it a good deal or was it really expensive?"
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the Pro Controller, maybe not the Pro Controller, but at least the Special Edition OLED is like just on store shelves in a couple months, because
Mm,
that's how it was with the Animal Crossing and the Splatoon editions.
hmm.
Like Nintendo Special Editions have been really easy to buy in store lately, so I wouldn't be too shocked if the Zelda one has enough stock to where you can still buy it.
Chrono saying it was an expensive $100.
Boom!
That is expensive, but it's a great controller, so congratulations. Yeah, uh, BRX Authortic. You'll find its use in Zora's domain. Also, a shrine will teach you another use, or watch Andres' house video. Yes, the
Yes.
hydrant is pretty can be surprisingly useful. Every device can be useful depending on how I use it. And I think one thing that is kind of crazy for me is that the more I explore the world, the more I discover the Zone A devices. Like I'm like, how can they still be giving me new devices? This is insane.
Right.
And I kind of I know some of it is just because of certain areas, but I feel that another part of it has to be, and I'm not saying specific with Zone A devices, just like across the board. Like I've noticed I'm finding a lot more powerful weapons and bows and things like this, and I'm wondering, does the game just recognize where I'm at in terms of progression? Like, oh, okay, he has 2 dungeons done, so we're gonna give him these tiers of weapons and enemies. Oh, okay, he has 3 dungeons done, we're gonna give him these tiers of weapons and enemies.
I
But
have not noticed that changing, to be honest, because right off rip, well, maybe for silver, because I don't know if I saw any silver enemies before I defeated the first dungeon. But at least for like up to Black Hole Goblins, you don't have to do anything for those, and they would not spawn in Breath of the Wild before until you. I think you had 2 dungeons. I think blue. No, I think first dungeon you defeated, because I think the black or the red and the blue are available like off rip in Breath of the Wild, I believe. And then black get introduced to first dungeon, then silver in the second dungeon. And they didn't add gold to like the DLC. But in this one, I think everything but the silver is available. So maybe they add silver enemies, but I might have just not found them before. I'm not sure.
yeah, I feel that it's probably that the game does scale a bit to your progression, because you can
Seems
do.
less though.
I mean, we'll have to replay the game and kind of test it out, right? But like I know people who have done, like, for example, the desert dungeon first, right? And I did it third. I'm now doing the water dungeon, which people may do early on, as fourth. I'm actually not in the water dungeon yet, but I'm approaching it. I'm getting
I've done the
close.
wind dungeon and the fire dungeon.
Yeah, I did those first. but
Yeah.
I'm seeing enemies around the area, some of which are the silver. And that's an area you could conceivably explore pretty early on. So my perspective is that it's I think it is based off how much you've done. That's what I think. Uh, I think there are exceptions though. I think there are some
Yeah.
things where it's always meant to be like early. Like there might be like some weapons that are in a particular area that are meant to be that level, and
I
those
do feel
don't
like
scale.
there's definitely enemies like when you go like in the depths. I've noticed there are harder enemies in certain areas and easier enemies in others. Like, and it makes sense where they are because like all near the main, kind of like the whole near Lookout Tower where you go down to do like the Robbie quest. Like that's kind of like the first place you're supposed to go into the depths. Everything around there is super easy. It's all like red bokoblins. But you venture out a little bit further, and all of a sudden you get the black bokoblins, and then now I'm getting the silver bokoblins, which I do think you need to do a dungeon for, because I feel like I have been seeing more silver now, and I don't think I saw any before.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to tell when you're down in the depths and it's gloom enemies, because a lot of times they're just so covered in gloom or something you can't. It's hard to even tell what color they are.
All I can say is
Until
when I look at my weapons now, like a bow that's not like a 30 power bow now is weak for me. A 40 power weapon now for me is like the bottom of the food chain for that's like the weakest number I'll use.
Yeah, you definitely are getting better drops than I am then.
I got some.
Because
I got
like
I
a
have done
30
more.
power bow is my best bow at the moment.
I got 50 power bows.
I've seen those, but only when I went down. I will say if you go down to fight the final boss, they are equipped with some crazy weaponry.
Yeah, I
If I
think
had gotten actually hit by everything and hadn't just backed up and shot everything with bomb arrows and nuked them all to death, I would have been probably gonna get nearly one shot, even with my level 8, 3 pieces of level 8 armor.
yeah, I don't even I haven't even upgraded my armor that much. I think I need to do the Great Fairy stuff.
Yeah, that's really important because you
Yeah.
can upgrade your health all you want, but if your armor is crap, it's not doing a lot.
Yeah, so we got 91 votes on if I should stream Tears of the Kingdom tomorrow, the ending.
Nice.
91 votes, and of those 91 votes, even though the stream crashed twice, which definitely impacts people watching, but
Yeah.
so 60% of 91 would be 91 times 0.6, 54.6. So 54 and a half people would be interested. I
Pretty
think
good.
I
You
think
said at least 40, right?
I said at least 40. I did say at least 40. So now the thing is, some people will be watching at different times, I'm sure, and some people think they'll watch and they'll not. But then there are also maybe some people who wouldn't have clicked on the podcast, but will see the stream tomorrow and watch that instead, right? So I think provided I can get my computer working appropriately and things don't get hectic tomorrow, that may be the plan. So I don't want to promise that I'm gonna do it. If I don't, I will probably stream Tears of the Kingdom stuff soon, but I may. So look for an announcement tomorrow afternoon, and then I'll probably start around 6 or 7 and go for like however long it takes. Hopefully it doesn't take me 12 hours. So, I will at least attempt to finish the game tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
Baby James, the ending. Well, okay. I may, in fairness, I'm about to do the 4th dungeon now, right? I want to finish the 4th dungeon tonight, but then I want to do the Great Fairy quest. I want to do the stable quest. I want to do the Lure of the Village quest, the Akala stuff. So I want to do all that before I go. And I'm assuming once I beat the 4th dungeon, there's a little bit between that and the end, story-wise as well. So I still have a lot to do. So I'm going to be playing for a lot in this duration. But yeah, I've been playing as much as I can. I've been at least playing like 2 to 3 hours every day, which may not be a lot, but I've been doing it every day. And there are other days where I play more than 2 to 3 hours. But we'll see. That's the goal. But yeah, I think we're gonna end the stream now. I know it's a shorter stream. I apologize for the crashes. I'll try and get that fixed. But anyways, thank you for watching, everyone. If you could like the stream, it'd be super helpful. Is there anything else you want to say, Brandon, before we close out?
I'm just, excited to play more of Tears of the Kingdom. I've played 60 plus hours now, and I feel like I barely scratched the surface of this game. It's very, very big, and I already want to start talking about like a deep dive thoughts on my game, but I want to finish it because I already have like things I wish the game did better and things that I think the game does really well. I already have so many thoughts.
Yeah,
But there are too many spoilers for this podcast, and we don't have time.
No, yeah, there's so much. Look at the chat. How Bastian is saying, I think there's more left than you think. I think there is a lot of game left for me.
Yeah.
I've heard how many dungeons there are. I'm not gonna say the number for spoilers, so I understand. There's things to be done. Which is why I'm gonna play a lot tonight. Just to put myself in striking distance to the end for tomorrow during a long stream. So, yeah. But anyways, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.